Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'll be looking into a new library called Magnus, and this is a UI library and one I found when looking for an alternative to Chakra UI just in React Native. And this one comes pretty close, it's pretty new, and yeah, I thought it was cool to kind of give an introduction to this library, how you can use it, what you can create with it. So today we will try to create a very small settings page using it, and yeah, let's see how it goes. So currently I'm on the documentation page, and yeah, the docs are pretty straightforward. So if you do yarn add or npm install React Native Magnus, and then run this command, which will pull in animatable, React Native modal or React Native vector icons, and you should be pretty good to go. And here there's a link to some additional instructions in regards to the icons, and you need to actually follow that. So for iOS, which I'll be developing on today, you need to copy and paste this one into your plist file. And if you're new to React Native, I'm just going to show you. So inside my project here, I go into the iOS folder, into my project here, and then there's an info plist file. In here, you just copy paste all those icons in. And yeah, after you followed these 3 steps and remember to do pod install for iOS, you should be golden and ready to go. Okay, so jumping down back into the project here, I currently have an empty project. Actually, let's just delete this one. Okay, so now we have app.tsx. This is an empty project, and right now I'm just importing a div. So a div is a view, a React Native view that has all these additional style props we can pass to it. So we can pass in p2, and this one is going to have a padding of 2, which is pretty cool. So this way we can save a lot of time writing styles, and yeah, I think that's pretty awesome. So let me just close this browser window down, and let's get started on the settings page. So the first thing I want to do inside this app.tsx file is to import the theme provider. The theme provider seems to be very key for for this library, because you can configure it quite a lot, and it is an utility first library, so you don't get a ton of components, but the ones you get are yeah, configurable, I would say. All right, so in here we have the theme provider. Now I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to call it settings.tsx, and this is just going to be our settings page. And for now, I'm just going to render out a div. Coming back to app.tsx, I can now grab that settings page and render it out here. Okay, so right now it actually tried to pull in settings from React Native. So let's just manually do the import here. Settings from settings, like this. All right, cool. So let's get started on this. So outside my div, I want to have a safe area view. So I'm gonna go ahead and import that. And I'm actually gonna add a little bit of styling. Actually, maybe just one style, because I need to be adding flex1 to my safe area view. So I'm gonna have flex1 here, and I will add it to my safe area view, like this. All right, now let's move forward. So inside this div, which is, as I said earlier, a view, I'm gonna add some padding on the x-axis, and I'm going to use the LG here. So this stands for large, and I'm just going to add a little margin top as well. Inside here, I'm going to add a text element, and this is actually not the text from React Native animatable. The text that I want to use is going to be from the Magnus package. So if I choose this import instead, I can add a few different things here. So font size, I'm gonna go with 4XL, and I'm gonna put in settings here. Settings, okay, pretty neat. You can see settings there. Now, I also kind of want a button in here because I want to have my save button on the top. So in case I have a lot of options, I want to always be able to press that save button. Okay, so let's make a button and let's add some styling here. Okay, so let's just say save and jump up here, add the row here to this one, and then do justify content space between. Okay, and then we can do align item center. Okay, that looks all right. Actually, for this one, I don't want to have any background. I just want to have some text there. So I can do BG transparent on my button. And then I can do color, for example, blue 500. And this blue 500 might look a little weird, same as this 4XL up here, but these are just some themable values you can change. All right, cool. Now on our settings page, we want to have some list items. So this library doesn't come with a list item component, so this is something you will have to create yourself. And in many cases, you want to be creating it yourself as well, so that's all okay. So let's create that list item component, and let's get cracking on that one. All right, so I'm gonna be adding a touchable opacity here as a wrapper around everything, because I might want to be able to click this list item for several reasons. Okay. Inside here, I'm gonna import div, and I'm gonna have a row. And inside this row, I will have a few things. So we can do a lot of customization when it comes to list items. I'm just gonna go with one type here. So let me add some props. So for my list item, I'm gonna have a title, like some text. I want to have an optional item we can put on the right side. So this is gonna be some JSX. And I'm gonna have an icon as well. This is just gonna be mandatory for now. And then an optional on press, which just gonna be a function that returns nothing for now. And now I'm gonna pass in props here, and I need to destructure out all of these right away. Might as well. Okay. Looking good. For the touchable opacity, we can do on press here. So on press, pass in on press. And then we can do disabled if there's no on press. This is usually the behavior we want. Okay, so down here we can do like this. So we're always expecting that we get an icon here. So let's add in a div in here, and let's add a margin right 15. And then in here we can add our icon. And Magnus also comes with the icon component. And it's basically a wrapper around React Native vector icons. So if you already use that library, this one should be pretty straightforward to use. Gonna put a font size of 20, and the font family is gonna be, for this one, just gonna be feather all the time. Okay. Alright, that's our icon. Now I can add another div inside our row, and this one's gonna have a prop flex equal to 1. And here I'm gonna put in my text. And I'm gonna put in the title here. Okay. And I maybe want this text to be a little bigger, so I can do font size LG, large. Cool. Now if we jump down here, we can do a check here. So if we actually pass something in on the right side, I'm gonna render a div, and then just put whatever is there in here. Okay. Now, if we try to render out one of these list items, we can get a feeling of how it looks. I can already say now that we need to do a little bit of messing around with the styling. Like, for example, we need some padding, but let's just put in a few items here. So the first list item I want to add is going to be one where we're going to put in our first name. So title, first name, the icon. I'm just going to put a user icon in there. Let's see. Okay, that looks like that. Interesting. I believe I actually imported the final version, so let me just adjust this import. Okay, that looks more like what I thought we get. All right. So that looks not too great, but we are seeing something, so something is working. That's good. Now, on the right side, I also want to have something here. And I could be putting in an input from Magnus, but actually in my settings component here, I want a very simple text input. Don't want any additional styling, so I'm just going to import text input from React Native. And I'm not going to put too much styling here. Like, I'm just going to put a placeholder that says John, and then add in some width here because, yeah, I want this text input to fill up a little more of the space here. So I'm going to make it responsive by grabbing the screen's width and then just divide it by 2. Oh, divide by 2. And let me just hide this one over here because that one gets a little annoying. And then we can easily see what's going on. All right. So this is our text input. And wait, what's going on here? We have two settings components. So let me just jump back into app. Okay, let me just reload. Something is going on. All right, that's better. Okay. All right, so this doesn't look great. But we do actually get our text input here, and it says first name here, and that's good. Now let's jump back into list item, and let's just apply a little more styling to this row here. So far we just put row, which means flex direction row, right? That's all. Let's do the first thing, which is first of all we want everything to be centered. So now the text input is centered. That looks a lot better. But we also need some padding. That's pretty crucial. So let's, on the horizontal, on the x-axis, let's add in 16. And then on y-axis, let's put in 10. This should improve it a lot more. I'm also going to add in some border bottom color here because I actually want to create a separator. And I need to put in the color and also put in the width here. Then I should see something. Okay, looks like this. That's good, that's good. I like it. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, that's working pretty well. Let's jump back into app or settings even. And just make sure we have a little bit of spacing here from the header div here where we have our title. So let's just put in 20. Okay, cool. Now our list item component seems to be functional, maybe even complete at this point. So let's add some more stuff to our settings page. So we have a first name. Let's try to add in a last name here. And yeah, well, that's pretty simple, I guess. Let's change the placeholder. And let's try to add something else on the right, on as the right item, third item here, sorry, not right. So far I have two text fields. Something else I could have here is maybe a gender, right? And the icon here could be, don't know, put a heart. Instead of text input here, I'm gonna be adding in actually the selected value. So the selected value could be male, for example, right? Looks like this. Now, in order to select the gender, I would like to open up a drop down. And Magnus has this pretty good, cool component for that. So I'm gonna add an unpress here, and I want to be doing something in order to make this drop down open. So let me just remove this one down here as well. Okay. Now let's render out the drop down as well. So the drop down needs to be rendered inside our return statement here, but actually will only open when we reference it in a onClick handler. I'm gonna show how it works. So in our drop down here, we're gonna import that, and as a ref, we need to basically have a ref here. So let's go up here and define that. So ref, use ref. And if you're using TypeScript, you need to pass something in here as the type. And Magnus comes with a type you can use. So I'm going to pass in dropdown ref here. And I'm going to pass in null or null. So either null, which it will initially be, and then it's going to take on this dropdown ref type. And in here I can just pass it in. Okay, cool. So far so good. Now what else do we need? We need a title. And in here we actually just can render out a component. So I'm going to render out some text, select gender. And I think that's more or less it. Let's maybe pass in show swipe indicator as well. Let's add some rounding as well. Okay, cool. Now here we can add in our options. So on the drop down component here, we have a option we can access. And here we can put in a value. And yeah, we can put in block property. And then down here as the children, we pass in what options we have. So far we have the male option. I'm gonna add in two more. And it's gonna be female and not listed. Okay? Female, not listed. One word. Okay. Cool. Now in our unpress up here, we can actually access our drop-down ref now. So ref.current, and then we can access the open prop. And I think that should do it for our third list item here. Let's try it. Okay, it's opening up. The styling is maybe not what we want here. We maybe want a little bit of padding. So on all these drop-down options, so let me just make sure I'm selecting the right ones here. We can add in some padding Y, so MD, and padding X, maybe a little more. Yeah, something like this, and up here as well. Kind of want a little bit of padding, so let's add some padding bottom to this one, and maybe some padding top. Yeah, well, maybe we want a little more styling on the actual text element here. So let's add that here. Padding bottom, MD, maybe XL. It doesn't. Yeah, and then bump up the font size. Let's put in LG here, maybe 2XL. All right. Well, it's up to you guys. I'm just fooling around with this styling a little bit and showing you how easy it is to actually style your elements. So if you don't style anything, it looks not great. But as I said, it's a utility first framework, so you can just style stuff you want as you want it. So probably if you want to use this drop-down element, you would wrap it in your own drop-down element component and then just reuse the styles over and over. That'll be the way to go. If the case was that you would be using the same styles, of course. Okay. Anyway, you have this drop-down over here. It's yeah, pretty performant, good animation. 60 FPS, looks good. Nothing's being updated right now because I'm just kind of fooling around with the library, seeing if it works. So yeah, cool. It does seem to be working. So let's add a last list item here of our settings menu. This time it's not going to be gender though. We're going to have another option here, and it's going to be the cool. Yeah, the cool option here. I'm just going to put in a meh emoji. And on the right, we are not going to have a text one this time. And we're not going to have any on press here either. So let's remove that. On the right, we're going to have another component from Magnus UI that I want to showcase, which is the toggle component. And in here, we can add a bunch of props. Let's just don't add anything for now. We can have a look at it. So far it looks like this. We try to click it, nothing happens. The toggle has an unpress, and in here we can, yeah, we could return something. So this is where we're going to need a little bit of state. So I'm just going to add that state in here to showcase. So toggled. Let's just call it on. On, set on, use state as per the false. And yeah, let's go here and then do set on be the opposite of on because it's a toggle, right? So we want to go to the opposite value. And the toggle also takes another prop that's important, which is on. So let's pass in on here. Okay. And on is false to begin with. So right now it's off. If you press it, it'll be true and false. All right. Pretty cool. And with all other components, we have all these options like changing the BG color, for example. Let's say we want gray. A little more gray now. We have a circle BG option. We can add in blue if you don't like green. Or it was not green, right? It was gray. It was white actually. All right. And we can add in active. So this is when it's active. We can add in orange 500. No, I don't know if orange is gonna work, to be honest. Let's see. Oh, it worked. Okay. Yeah. As I said, these style props can just be reused over and over on most of these elements, so that's pretty awesome. All right, guys, I think that's it for this video. I hope you guys learned something from this, or at least got to know a little more about Magnus, um, and how you could set up a list component if that's what you want. Um, but yeah, this library is definitely cool. Because it's pretty lightweight and it uses some of the packages that I'm using anyway in my project, so it's not too much overhead to drag this one in. It doesn't have that many stars or anything like that, or that many downloads, but it reminds me a little bit of chakra UI, which is why I like it. So yeah, give it a try if you want, and hope you learn something. That's the most important. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.